Okay, so this is my first video in my PMDD playlist, the PMDD journey of, well, living with premenstrual dysphoric disorder for the past 10 years. If you watched my previous video about what PMDD is and what it's like, what the symptoms involve, my whole backstory with it for the past decade, welcome. If you haven't seen it, please go watch that before continuing with this, or you won't understand the whole, any of it. So, now that you've watched the other video, or you already did, my symptoms have been up and down, but mostly up for the past 2 weeks, which is pretty typical with PMDD. I am on day 28, I think, 27. I had to double check that someday, but anyway. And I finally started my period, but guess what? While that usually means relief from my symptoms, today it means extra pain in my ankle. And if you don't know what's going on with my ankle, then watch one of my updating videos. It's like one of the first ones on the channel, I promise, because I deleted everything else on accident. Sort of on accident. One of the symptoms of PMDD is like brain fog, plus anxiety, plus a bunch of other things that make me talk really fast, and I have difficulty retaining a that happens. Sometimes I can only process a few words at a time. I was on the phone today with a dear friend of mine, and he was trying to plan out, we were gonna get some lunch or something. Excuse me, I burped. We had planned this yesterday. We were going to hang out. We didn't really have a time. And I was like, crap, we don't have a time. I need a time. I have to schedule everything out for myself. And so I just called him up today. I was like, hey, what's going on with that? He's like, actually, and then he went into a long list of things. And I had to interrupt him in the middle of it and say, I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty paying attention to more than 3 words at a time right now. He's like, do you want to just reschedule? Yes, please. I had to reschedule a lot of things in my life because of these stupid symptoms. Because I can't, it's difficult to make decisions sometimes. It's difficult to pay attention long enough to decide something, to weigh all the different options. I have been on the verge of tears multiple times today, and I blame it on my ankle because it's been really painful, because when a female is on their period, their pain tolerance threshold lowers. So any pain that you would normally feel and you'd be like, oh, that's, it kind of hurts, but okay, it gets amped up like multiple levels. So my ankle I deal with all the time. And this past week, I did a lot of activity. I mean, a lot. I walked over 2 miles, which for right now is a lot for me. And I didn't realize I was so close to my period. So what would normally be like kind of annoying to deal with is now really painful. Inflammation, mostly, is the inflammation. There's swelling stuff going on. There's muscle spasms and like hardware. It's sort of like when a storm comes, actually, now that I think about it. It's like when the weather changes. I have a barometer in my ankle. So, but on the plus side, I have officially started my period, which for me just means that my awful symptoms of the past 2 weeks are going to be coming to an end for a few weeks. Yay! It also means I will not be on my period next weekend. Today is Friday. Next Friday, I'm going on a pod swim for a beach weekend trip. Can you tell I'm excited? Maybe, just a little bit. So I won't have to be dealing with a period, and I won't be dealing with inflammation and pain aside from just regular stuff that I deal with all the time. So that's really good. Oh, I was blocking that light behind me. I guess it kind of works better to block it, right? I'm sorry for all the extra noises. This house is very loud, and we have a few people here because we do, and I'm not the only person who lives here. But yeah, I'm just... I went and laid on the we have like a bench couch thing on the back porch, which is like a 3-season room. And I just laid there and like try not to bawl my eyes out because we have company. And then they're like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. I'm fine. And everyone wants to talk, so we have a few people here, like I mentioned. We actually have a small party, going away party for some family friends who are moving, and we have a couple of their friends over to have a meal. And they all pretty much haven't seen me since last summer when I was still laid up in bed in excruciating pain, either right before or right after surgery. So now I'm walking, and they hadn't seen me walking yet. Or at least they hadn't seen me out of a cast. So they all want to talk about my ankle, and not everyone will understand this, but talking about things that are very painful, especially physical pain, at least for me, if I talk about my ankle, it remembers everything that's happened to it, and it will flare up in pain, in protest. So I talk to my ankle to tell it, like I literally have to tell it, you are safe, the accident is over, you have had surgery, so you are actually pieced back together how you should be. Yes, I understand you have 6 screws and a plate, which are, like, that's already distressing. Okay, guys. But you are back together. You're in PT. You are safe. You are comfortable. You've had a massage. I have been very careful with you. I protect you. I love you. Like, I talk to my ankle. I literally have to do this. This video is not supposed to be about my ankle. Yeah. On the plus side, there's a new season 5 of Lucifer on Netflix. So y'all know I'm gonna be binge watching that. I also knew I was close to my period because you can't see it, I don't think, at all. But right here, I have a cystic pimple, acne thing going on, and I can feel one on the side of my nose over here, which, funny enough, this means boring in sign language. There is a rabbit trail. That happens a lot on PMDD. I've wondered if I have other spectrums or symptoms of other conditions, honestly, because so many things overlap. I was actually just talking with my counselor recently about whether or not I'm on the autism spectrum. I have a lot of symptoms that overlap with it, but with her expertise of autism, she believes that most of my symptoms actually stem from the family I was raised in and not from, like, having an internal condition, essentially. So, it's interesting. Now I have a headache. I'm also not letting me... Okay. I'm also not allowing myself to eat, like, dark chocolate or anything with caffeine, soda, salt, like very not salty, sugary things after like 5 p.m. essentially. I did break that rule today because I had a tiny piece of chocolate chip banana bread. It was delicious. I wanted it, so I ate it. I also recently, actually, so one of the symptoms of PMDD is changes in appetite, like large changes, and I tend to binge eat. You probably could tell. I love you too. But the last like 3 days, I've been nauseous and I've not had an appetite, which is a newer symptom for me. Your symptoms can change over the years of having this. As your hormones change, and just age changes you, okay? So I realized at dinner time, I had not had lunch today. I didn't feel hungry. Like, you know, like you get that pang of hunger. I didn't have that feeling today until dinner time. I don't know why. And like, I also didn't have an appetite. Like, I didn't crave anything. And I wasn't like, oh, I should probably eat lunch. I had breakfast around, I want to say like 8:30. That's another really weird thing. I'm just ranting and venting. That's what these videos are for in this playlist. If you don't want to hear me rant and vent, then don't click on these videos. But for people who either have PMDD or think they may have it or know someone who may or does have it, these would be really helpful videos for you to watch to try to get in the headspace of someone who has this, or to not feel alone if you do have this. So that's why I'm doing all these videos, okay? And I'm trying to keep them to less than 15 minutes. I was going to keep them to 5 to 10, and we've already hit the 10-minute mark. What was I saying? I don't know. I don't remember what I was saying. Food. I know I was talking about food. I talk about food a lot. I love food. Food's fantastic. But I didn't have an appetite. I just didn't. But usually I tend towards binging and having very strong cravings. And that will probably hit me, honestly, at some point. Just not in the last 3 days. So I think that's enough ranting for this time around. I'm trying to film when I'm in the middle of things, in the middle of like a certain headspace or like emotions or whatever, certain symptoms. I'm trying to capture for people who experience them as well, within reason, essentially. And like if I'm in the middle of somewhere in my headspace and I need to just be alone, I will not film that. I won't. I'm going to do what I need first, and then I'm going to go from there. So, which is very healthy and is okay to do. So thank you for watching, and feel free to stay tuned if you want to learn more about PMDD, experience more of it, or if you think you have it yourself and you just want company and you want someone who can relate to you. I'm happy to chat with anyone on here in the comments below. If you think you may have it or know someone, and you just want someone to talk to, I'm happy to do that when I have the headspace available. So thank you for watching.